Hi, it's Tara Green. It's September the 2nd, and this is going to be a longer video because I want to talk about some very important things, one of which is the Texas abortion ban law that's kind of threatening Roe versus Wade in the U.S. So this actually happened September the 1st, but the effects happening today, which is the main aspect, is Mars opposite Neptune in Pisces was, coming into effect. It's just perfecting today. So here's the chart for Austin, Texas. I've erected it for 3:01 p.m. There was a Reuters news thing that President Biden said something that he would stop it, but of course that hasn't happened. So let's just take this chart as the chart for what this is all about and why it's happened now. The moon, which represents women, mothers, the womb, the emotional bodies, the sense of emotional safety, is in Cancer, the sign that it rules. So the moon is very, very strong right now. Of course, you know that the U.S. is a Cancerian country, supposedly all about mom and apple pie and nuclear families and all that stuff, which is largely an illusion. Perhaps once it upheld those values, but it's certainly not that now. Anyway, in this chart, you can see there's a couple of major things going on here, one of which is the planet Saturn. Saturn in Aquarius at 8 degrees Aquarius. I'm not going to talk about houses here at this point because, the houses can change, and I'm using this time just because it felt right. And there was this news article about Biden. Now, Saturn is in an inconjunct or a quincunx. You can see those little dotted green lines there. In a quincunx 150-degree aspect, which is a blind spot. Okay, there you go, Saturn right there to the moon, which means that sense of detachedness. Saturn is always the patriarchy, the old boys, the historical network, the Bible thumpers, right? All that stuff. Even in Aquarius, Saturn is still Saturn. So Saturn is still going to limit. It's detached. It's doesn't really care. It doesn't really have any feelings. And there it is, showing this inconjunct to the moon in Cancer. Okay, in the 7th house, which if we take this chart as being the right chart, then it's to all others, all women. At the same time, the South Node here at 6 degrees of Sagittarius, which is about rules, laws, justice, and hidden agendas, because it is in the 12th house here, and mental illness, which is certainly going to cause women, and grief and suicide most likely, is also in conjunct the moon. Okay, now the asteroid goddess Juno, who the month of June is named after, she is traditionally the feminine form of genius. So I totally see this as an unconscious, very conscious political act against women. Texas has just attracted a lot of big corporations. Elon Musk has moved himself there because of tax breaks. But, now all those corporations, Google, I don't know, there was a number of them put up, are then supporting all this, which is going to, it's basically, it's witch torture. There's a 10,000 bounty hunt for anyone that is supposedly talks about even helping a woman getting an abortion. So this is basically a witch hunt in the 21st century, folks. You thought it couldn't happen again, but this is what happened when you forget history. It repeats, and we are in very totalitarian times, okay? And to not see what's right before your eyes, you're blind. Just like this blind spot here, this quincunx, this inconjunct pointing right to the moon in Cancer. So I'm certainly feeling this. I'm very upset. I mean, really, I was on Twitter, people were talking about Texas as being the Taliban, the same as what the Taliban are going to do to women in Afghanistan. Well, it's true, because, this is the witch hunting times all over again. This is the patriarchy trying to remain in control, Now, I mean, it is only in Texas, but even the fact that it's been allowed to happen and President Biden did nothing, that tells you a lot, okay? Now also, part of this energy, Mars, the planet that rules men, of course, the planet of testosterone and anger and wars, is in Virgo, okay, right there, 21 degrees Virgo, okay, opposite Neptune and Pisces. So Neptune and Pisces is always about hidden enemies, okay? It's always about deception, it's about secrets, it's about literally gaslighting. Neptune rules oil. It's ghosting. Literally, Neptune rules the spirit world, seances. It's this kind of sleight of hand which is very real. Okay, so there's Mars and Virgo ruling health. So the men are somehow taking control, which they absolutely should not be allowed to have any control over women's bodies. It's not their bodies. And deceiving them and lying and manipulating, and it has to do with the drug industry, which basically is controlling the world. So Mars opposite Neptune has so many different explanations and ways that it can play out. But here's this chart explaining this. Someone on Twitter had asked me to write about this, but at this point I'm just going to do this video. So Mars and Virgo would represent, in ancient times, women always knew how to avoid pregnancy and how to induce natural abortions using herbs. And this is something that women are going to have to do, and to learn how to do it safely, through consulting herbalists. There's kitchen witches. This is a very ancient tradition that all women knew how to do, or you would go to an herbalist and she would help you. Okay. So that's one thing. So the women need to learn where to resource these herbs, and how to get help and support if they need to. Okay. Mars and Virgo, again, everybody's worried about their health. Everybody's worried about, the drugs you should take, the drugs you shouldn't take. Mars and Virgo is natural medicine. And so while the Sun and Mars are in Virgo, especially, the Sun's always in Virgo 1 month of the year, but especially at this time, it is a time to build up your immune system using natural things, mushrooms. Neptune and Pisces would be like mushrooms. I take this thing called 5 Defenders. I've taken cordyceps, all these ancient Chinese herbal remedies, which the Chinese have used for 5,000 years, and they've used for probably the same amount of time, if not longer, in India. Ayurvedic medicine. Indigenous peoples all over the world always had remedies for any of these things. And so I think a certain kind of fir, a pine tree needle tea, people are drinking that to boost their immune systems. Okay, so whatever it is you need to educate yourself, South Node in Sagittarius and Juno, the feminine form of genius and wisdom. That means you have to multitask. You have to see all the different points, all the points of the star that Juno has. Use your feminine genius to figure out how. I feel bad for the women in Texas because it's going to affect the poor, Black women, Hispanics, the most, who don't have access or a way to get out of Texas to get the help if they need it. Okay, so Mars opposite Neptune. You might be feeling totally dreamy, like this is like a waking dream, which it really is. There was a cool animated feature called The Waking Dream or something years ago. You could go check it out. It might be on YouTube. Mars and Virgo, very precise, very practical, very grounded. And there's Neptune and Pisces, totally the opposite. It's ephemeral, it's spiritual, it's wish fulfillment thinking, it's projection, it's illusions, it's magic, it's everything that's not real. So that opposition, right now, what's real and what isn't. Neptune been in Pisces since 2011. It's going to be there till 2024, 2025. We're still in this illusionary shit show, is what I want to call it, for all these years. And so, in a way, I can't wait till Neptune gets into Aries, and it's going to be like the big fiery, wake-up call, a gazillion alarm fire to wake up after being in this somnambulistic, totally manipulated reality, virtual reality, alternative reality, for all of these years, for 14 years. That's how long Neptune takes to go through a sign. So right now, your reality and the illusion might be, you might be feeling very stressed out. Neptune is also very enervating, so Mars is energy. You might be feeling really tired, really exhausted. That's okay. You should rest today. It's a great day to, just lay back. The moon's in Cancer. You want to be home. You want to be near water. You want to be in nature. Mars in Virgo. It's a good day to do a fast. It would be a good day to do some medicinal herbal medicines safely, because when Neptune's in Pisces, your judgment is always off. But Mars in Virgo is very grounded, so that could be a good thing. Dream, dance, do poetry, work with watercolors, swim, make love, visualize, meditate. Bring down heaven on earth. That would be, the really most positive aspect of this, but also realize that, it's a day when people are going to really try to avoid reality and go into the addictions and the denial and the illusions and the delusions. Neptune and Pisces especially rules Hollywood. And everybody escapes into those superhero movies because they've lost track with the real gods and goddesses, with that kind of, multi-faceted, old-fashioned worldview. And the planets themselves are seen as gods and goddesses. So there's Mars or Aries, in Virgo. So he's in Mercury's sign. He's walking through the woods. He's smelling the roses. He's asking about the herbs. He's learning. He's fascinated with, herbs that'll give him strength. Herbs that'll make his body strong. Okay, we all have an inner Mars. Okay, and then there's Neptune and Pisces. Neptune, the god of the oceans. We're feeling kind of submerged in the unconscious, and we need to be able to wake up. Mars is in a kind of awakening energy. Wake up our dreams, wake up our intuition. This is really the only factual GPS you have, is your intuition. So people, never mind what anybody's telling you on the outside, that is not real. It's never been real. That kind of outward reality is never real anyway. It's merely a projection, a hologram. There is a collective unconscious reality that shapes and shapeshifts this world. It might be a very shocking awakening. That's Mars in the tarot. It's the Tower. The number 16. 9/11 is coming up. I'm sorry for all the innocent people that died at 9/11, but that was really an initiation into that major arcana number 16, the Tower, and it was supposed to be a wake-up call, not the opposite, which was the devil. The card before it. So what is it you're hiding from? The asteroid Athena is also in this as well. Now she is a parthenogenic goddess. She is self-conceiving. The Parthenon, the most famous temple on the Acropolis in Greece, is built in her honor. This is the most obvious and ancient and respected temple in the world in Western culture. Athena's temple, on the Acropolis. The city of Athens is built in her honor. The Olympic Games, are also part of that. So there's Athena, parthenogenesis goddess, self-conceiving. So the myth that she was born from Zeus's head is just a patriarchal interpretation that she was self-conceiving. It's not that she didn't have a mother. She was her own mother. And Zeus was just trying to take her power. That's what that myth is all about. So, but the Nike shoes have taken her name. Athena Nike, it's one of her words, victory. So you want to use the victory of Athena Nike and her self-conceiving powers. Now, self-conception is also related to Virgo, Ceres. All the ancient goddesses were self-conceiving. And so women need to realize their power to be able to consciously conceive or not. And this is really your greatest power. I know that the men ultimately should be taking responsibility and held responsible for making women pregnant. And in the good old days, men were held responsible, and they had to marry women that they got pregnant. And even though those were maybe not very good marriages, at least the men were held responsible. And then the pill came along, and ironically, it created women's lib, but it also made it worse for women. So women need to go back and remember these ancient ways, that's Virgo, how to self-conceive. So you control whether you get pregnant or not through understanding how to redirect your menstrual blood, which is sacred, special blood. This has nothing to do with sexuality or tantra. These are very ancient. As far as we know, this tradition was handed down from the Caro Indians in Peru. Women learned how to self-direct their menstrual blood. They didn't bleed very much either. So we were at one point conscious enough to know when we're ready to get pregnant, we'll get pregnant no matter what. Although we don't go around having sex with everybody, because that's not good for women spiritually. And this is not about Puritanism, and it's not about celibacy necessarily. Sexuality is beautiful and spiritual. It's just that you don't just do it with everybody, because that's an invitation to get demonized and vampirized. So anyway, learning how to consciously get pregnant and also how to consciously abort. So this is what women really need to do, really need to learn. So learning that spiritual, physical connection, we're all basically spirits first, embodied, step down from the spiritual, the emotional, the mental, and the physical planes. There's my new little birdie singing there. And he's got a name. His name is Bo. So yeah, So really look into, investigating with the South Node and Juno there in Sagittarius ancient writings. It's, you know, women knew how to do this for thousands of years because they had to. Now, the other interesting thing is Ceres, the Great Mother herself, is in Gemini exactly, conjunct the North Node. She's a little bit past it now, and Lilith as well. Now, these three, one is a point in space, one is the North Node of the Moon, and then Ceres, the Great Mother, now a dwarf planet, and Lilith are together. And so they're very, very powerful and opposite Juno, okay, and squaring the sun rather, in Virgo. So to me, it's all about, you know, Lilith, North Node, Ceres, that split between the mother whore, which is also what this punitive, horrible bounty hunting law is all about in Texas, you know, shades of Margaret Atwood and you know, Gilead and all that stuff. I mean, those kinds of things can happen, and they are happening right under our noses. If women don't get together, if people don't get together and protest, you know, this is what the age of Aquarius is all about. Protest. Fight for your rights, for freedom. Women's sexual freedom, everybody's freedom. Everybody's free to choose what they want individually and not be imposed on for any reason whatsoever. So women especially need to get together. Now, you want to call in Lilith. She's a very powerful dark goddess. She rules menstruation, therefore she has to do with pregnancy. She was the first woman before Eve. You want to call upon Lilith. She's like a Kali-like figure as well. Oh, okay. And then, you know, there's Venus in Libra, trining Jupiter, the great benefic in Aquarius as well. Pluto's at 24. Mercury's in Libra as well. So the women, the messaging, Venus opposite Chiron in Aries, we're wounded, we're feeling this pain, okay, but we need to act. There's Uranus and Taurus squaring Saturn. So this is what this is all about, the confrontation between the old boys club and this ability to integrate kind of new technologies into our bodies, into the earth, and not have them control us. We want nature first. That's what Virgo's all about. So if you want to get in touch with me, I'm at tarottarot.com, okay, .com. Please subscribe to me on my blog at infinitynow.wordpress. Please subscribe to me here at YouTube. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. I'm on TikTok sometimes. And I will be having a Virgo new moon workshop, but it won't be live. I'm going to record it for September the 6th. So that's the change. I was almost going to cancel it because it's Labor Day, but I realized if I have it recorded, then you can just purchase it and watch it at will. If you want to find out about that, you go to my website, tarottarot.com. And there's a really beautiful new moon coming on Labor Day on the 6th at the sun and the moon at 14 degrees in Virgo as well. All right, sending you blessings.